What's up YouTube, this is Dennis Panuta for tutorials.eu. In this video we're going to look at assignment, increment and decrement operators in Kotlin, which are going to be important every now and then. You just need to know them, they are the basics. So let's get started with those. But before we do, please hit the like button and subscribe button and let's get started. So assignment operators are the ones you can see here, and we have already seen them to a certain degree where we just had a variable, and I'm just going to call this one my num is going to be 5, and then I can go ahead and say my num plus equal 3. So what that will do is it will add 3 to my num value. So it's going to be the same thing as if I wrote my num equals my num plus 3. All right, so these two are interchangeable, and as you can see, it even prefers the other one. So it even prefers the operator assignment as we have seen here. All right, so assignment operator is this plus equal 3 or this minus equal or multiplied equal and so forth. So now I can of course go ahead and print this. Print ln is going to be my num is $my num. And I'm going to comment out all our other print line statements from earlier videos, and let's run this again. And as we see, it says my num is 8. All right, so that is an assignment operator. Now please go ahead and multiply that with 4. So multiply my num with 4 and store that in my num, but use an assignment operator for this. All right, I hope you tried it. So it's my num multiplication or asterisk equal 4. And now let's print this again in the next line. And we can see it's 32. All right, so these are the assignment operators. Now let's look at the increment and decrement operators, because they are something that is used quite often as well. And they're just a double plus or double minus sign. So we can just go ahead and do the following: my num plus plus, nothing more than that. So let's print my num again, and this is going to be here. Actually, let's print it here and let's print it after the incrementing. So this plus plus is incrementing, which means increasing the value by 1, and then minus minus is decrementing, which means decreasing the value by 1 or reducing 1. So once we run this, we can see my num is 32 and my num is 33. So my num is 32 here at this line and 33 in this line. So that's what this increment does. Now let's do a decrement, and at that same time I want to show you something that is super interesting, and that is to use the increment after use, which means we use increment after my num, and then again we can use it before. So in this case, you can see we cannot just use this approach, we have to use the brackets. So I'm going to use curly brackets here as well, because this is an expression that I want to execute before actually printing it on the screen. So let me show you how this will impact our application here. So let's run this again. All right, so there we are. So we had my num is 33. That's this line here, right? So we increased my num of being 32, which was at this point. And then we increased it by 1 here. Then we go ahead and print that number. And then we say, okay, let's increase the value by 1. But for some reason it didn't increase the value. Why is that? Well, that is because this plus plus will only be executed once this line of code is finished. So pretty much at the beginning of the next line. So in line 75, my num is still 33. Then it's increased by 1. So in line 76, at the beginning of the line, it's going to be 34. And then we do plus plus my num, which means we increment just before we execute or we use this variable, which means that now it was 34 at this point plus 1, which means now it's 35, and that's exactly what is printed onto the console. So now you can see that my num is 35. So that's the difference between using the plus plus or the increment or decrement operators before or after, because it really has an impact on when they are executed, and now you know the difference. But very commonly it's used afterwards, so you increment afterwards because usually you don't use it inline as we do it here. So now please add another print line statement just underneath it. So in line 77 in my case, just underneath this statement, and there decrease the value so that it will show my num is 34 as the next print line statement. All right, so I hope you tried it. So what I need here, of course, is to use minus minus before my num and not after my num. So I'm going to decrement the my num variable just before it is going to be displayed and printed onto the console. So just before it will be used, so to say. So there we are. It says my num is 34. All right, so that's assignment operators and the increment and decrement operators. And in the next video, we are going to see how we can finally use some of those operations usefully, because so far we had some examples of what we can do with it, but now let's see what we actually can do with it and get something from it, because so far it has been rather fundamental or rather basic. So see you in the next video where we're going to check out if statements.